Adolescence is usually the time when the mental shit starts hitting the fan and we all experience our first true heartbreaks over shit that people might think is silly, but it still means something to you down the road. But for now, you're just stuck in this time while nobody properly wants to validate your emotions and your feelings, and anyone who actually does is too experienced in life to give you any proper advice. Close friendship and romantic relationships are both very important for a teenager and the way that they experience psychological stress. So it's something that needs to be researched in a scientific setting, even though it may seem a little bit stupid to some people. So I found a research article that was aimed to find out whether romantic involvement, romantic security, and close friendship predicts depression and loneliness. It also looks into whether friendship will actually have good or bad effects on your romantic relationships and romantic involvements and how you feel emotionally secure in your relationships in the future. What studies indicate is that if you're in romantic relationships when you're in early adolescence, which means around 12 to 14 years old, it's relatively bad for them because it causes more psychological stress and increases the risk of depression. So it gives you a lot more stuff to deal with than you ought to be used to. But as people get older, teens around 70 to 18 years old actually report a better mental health when they're in a romantic relationship. They have a better social competence and also better self-esteem. And also around that age, it's more socially normative to be in a romantic relationship, and it's seen as a very integral part of growing up. But for now, let's talk about the attachment theory. What that attachment theory says is that people develop mental representations of their attachment figures based on the quality of their caregiving relationship. And if you want to translate that into a more understandable language, it's that people tend to look for relationships that are very closely resembling the relationships that they have at home. It also says that these mental representations of your attachments are important foundations for all the relationships that you're going to have later on in life. So it might not be just a theory that your parents can mess up your future relationships, even if they're not physically there to cock-block you. Because people who have insecure mental representations are more likely to engage in what they call maladaptive affect regulation strategies. This could be on both ends on the spectrum. It could either mean that they're so insecure that they basically latch on to any person who wants to have them, while others are so afraid of getting hurt that consciously or subconsciously they try to evade most of those interpersonal relationships. So this article says that insecure attachment with your parents is associated with also having a worse psychological development. And people who lack security in romantic relationships also more often experience psychological distress, depression, and loneliness. So we're double screwed, people. So is there any hope for us black sheep? There is. Our friends. Because having a higher number of friends and having good quality of friendship during your adolescence actually is related to a better mental health, especially depression and loneliness. Being validated and having someone to talk to means so much at any kind of age, but especially in your formative years when it's usually expected of people to develop some sort of image, in which you don't think you're trash. There isn't any solid proof that friendship can make up for a lack of romantic experience or security, go figure, but it seems logical that it would. Because if you don't have solid friendships, it would make sense that you have a higher risk of getting into romantic relationships and possibly getting into a dysfunctional or abusive relationship, romantic or not. And if you got the unholy hat trick of having an insecure parental bond, low quantity or quality of friendships, and also a bad love life, I feel you. I feel you so bad. As for the article, they didn't really find that having a romantic relationship is beneficial for an adult's well-being. So, hey, we're independent, strong people who don't need no man/woman/anything in between. It could be because our differences tend to get smaller as we get older, and friendships still are the strongest bonds for young adults before, they get married and shit. However, it's still true that people with a lower degree of friendship closeness and also a lower degree of romantic involvement was related to a higher degree of depression and loneliness. But yeah, people weren't meant to be solitary creatures, so that makes sense. So adolescents with a lower degree of friendship will also most likely get a depression if they also have a lower degree of romantic involvement. So romantic relationships are especially important for friendless teens, and the other way around, if a kid has a low degree of romantic involvement, it actually helps having a lot of friends. So the association between a low romantic involvement and depression was actually compensated for if you had a lot of friends. So that's why I'm still not as pathetic as I could have been.